Greetings, everyone. I'm excited to welcome Paul Kleen, CEO and founder of Pitchit. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Definitely have to check in your out your site. I'm definitely looking forward to getting into details. But first, yeah, let's talk about your background. Tell us a little bit about your background.
The coolest website on the planet. That's
Yes.
what you said you just checked out? Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
We just added those animations.
Love it.
Okay. So my background's in data science and I got my start in Silicon Valley at a company called Frame Data. And we built that company up. We sold it to Square. And then after that, I got into sales and which is a crazy transition, but it was mostly at Framed. How do we apply data science to help salespeople? And so that's like the logic that led to me wanting to then get into sales. I felt like at Framed, what was great was the data. What I was missing was the engagement that you do after seeing that data. So I worked as head of growth at Paperspace for a bit, and then that company was acquired by DigitalOcean later on, and I started Pitchit about 2 years ago to try to fuse data science with the engagement to kind of combine my background. And so pulled some people that I'd worked with at some of those previous startups to become engineers, raised some funding, and started Pitchit.
Oh, that's great. So it's kind of technical background with data science. Then you got into sales. So I love that combo of data and sales. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, always, we went those were both Y Combinator grads and I did some consulting with some 500 startups grads and Pitch went through Alchemist Accelerator. And so it was a lot of these like Silicon Valley accelerator programs, seed funded companies that I had worked at. And so Pitch followed a very similar path. That's where my network was. And so that's where I went back to.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Love that. So yeah, let's talk about Pitchit. Tell us what products and or services Pitchit offers.
Yeah, so we are effectively selling results as a service, and the result is lead qualification, not demand generation. So don't get that confused with like top of funnel. There's a ton of cold email platforms that have been around that are excellent for 15, 20 years, right? And then there's some newer ones that use AI to basically do the same stuff, but just no human involvement at all. So like leads just show up magically in your inbox. But that's not where Pitchit lives. We're kind of in the middle of the funnel. So what we're selling is an AI agent that can actually talk to your leads and figure out which ones are really well qualified for you as a business to sell to, and then also attempt to get them to book the meeting end to end. And this is basically what a human sales rep has to do in the first 24 hours. No matter what systems you're using, you could use HubSpot or Salesforce to tee up the lead and do all these automated emails, et cetera. But there's still someone still has to do the manual labor of saying this person is or is not a good fit for price. They have these objections. They want to meet tomorrow at 9, and then you got to still book the meeting and show up. And so there's a lot of manual labor involved. And so what we've done is we've created an AI agent that can handle all of those different things, and it plugs into your existing funnel, if that's HubSpot or Salesforce or Google Sheets or Facebook ads or wherever it is, right? You basically tell us where in the workflow you want an AI agent to actually talk to that lead.
Okay. So, and I like you clarified, you're not top funnel, you kind of live in that middle of funnel. So not lead demand gen, but once that lead comes in. So hooking into an existing sales process, say, would this be something where they download, a PDF or fill out some form and you
Mhm.
get an email address and then you take it from there?
Yeah, I'll give you some examples
Yeah.
based on actual customer case studies. We actually work a lot with people selling direct to consumers because they get a lot of leads, and the manual labor is pretty insane to keep up with. And so we generally target dealers of telecommunications products selling to consumers. And so that could be like home security, cell phone plans, Wi-Fi plans, moving services. Those kinds of things are usually sold kind of all at the same moment in time to a consumer when they're moving to a new place. But there are thousands of leads that get generated by these companies every single day. And so that's who we generally target. And they don't have issues with generating leads. Lead generation's taken care of by their advertising and their distribution partners or their SEO presence. They really have trouble figuring out, which of these consumers is actually going to pick up the phone if I spend the time calling them.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So, and that's always what I ask, kind of what industries you target. So you mentioned home security, say Wi-Fi, mobile phones, moving. Any other industries that you target? Is that kind of that primary industry ICP right now?
I mean, part of our go to market is to be a vertical SaaS company. And so staying within the telecommunications vertical is something that we're very diligent about. There are other industries that have shown a ton of interest in us, and insurance is probably the second one that you would see us moving over to as we kind of progress further along telecommunications. But telecom is so big, I mean, it encompasses streaming TV, and we certainly have some big customers there selling direct TV and different streaming products. It encompasses cell phones and Wi-Fi plans. It encompasses security systems, anything that you're going to put into your home, right? It's like a connectivity device. So it's humongous. There's a lot of people in that space alone. I would imagine that we can get to at least 10, 20 million in ARR by just focusing on that vertical and not moving over to insurance. So until we feel like we've got 20, 30% of the market, and it's just a matter of time before we get the remaining 40 or 50% and have like a dominant 70 or 80% market share, we're probably not going to move on to insurance until we know for sure that we've really dominated telecom. That's our beachhead.
Okay, makes sense. And then am I not a good fit if I'm just generating a couple leads a day? Is that just not enough volume to work with your platform?
I think that it's a perfectly good use case. Our AI agents can absolutely do it. What wouldn't work is our pricing model. And so the problem's not huge that you just described. A human is probably totally capable of doing this. They just don't want to if they don't have to. And so technically Pitchit would totally work fine at that volume. I mean, we'd have no problems at all servicing that client, but they probably wouldn't want to invest in buying a software to handle 5 leads a month. And so it's not that we couldn't service them. We certainly can. We just don't yet have free plans that are all totally self-serve where, a micro company or a lifestyle business or like a brand new small business, or even just a company who doesn't have a lot of leads, like a B2B company, they could benefit from Pitch It, but they'd have to be willing to wait for us to roll out our 99,
Mhm.
$199 a month plans or like a free plan. And the only time that we actually visited that was when we were in very much closed beta after we got out of Alchemist Accelerator. And I think we had a good experience with it. There were certainly a lot of people that wanted to use it. But inside of our niche, not many people kind of fit that. Most of the people in telecom are humongous. I mean, they're doing a couple 100 million to a couple $1 billion a year in revenue. They have thousands of salespeople. And I mean, one of those guys is worth about 10,000 lifestyle businesses when it comes to how much money you can make from them. So for now, it's just not a focus. When we get to the state where we're really trying to maximize the total addressable market, that's when you're going to see us do product led growth and have lower level plans and start servicing smaller businesses that have like 5 to 10 leads a month.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And in your pricing model, so say for a big telecom company, is it standard fixed subscription? Is there any usage component based on leads? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I really think that I am in the camp that AI has totally destroyed SaaS pricing models. So I'm fully aware that SaaS historically did seat based or feature based pricing, and then you do like a multi-year commit, and then you get that nice 7 to 10x revenue multiplier on those plans. The challenge is with AI, it can do everything end to end, and so if you turn off a feature, what that means is that now it can't really do everything end to end. So for Pitch It, for example, we could do email, text, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, messaging. But if I start turning off some of those channels, the results are going to be a lot worse. So I will be effectively charging less, but also providing significantly less value and results for our clients. And so I think with AI, if you open up all the features and you just give a customer unlimited seats, which is what Pitchit does,
Mhm.
then it's just a matter of how many leads am I qualifying for you on any given month. And so I'm basically selling at this point our software, and the software is effectively qualifying the leads. And so they are in, if you connect the dots, they're just buying lead qualification as their primary service. They're not buying seats. and they're not buying specific features on top of your platform. It's full access, full team onboarding. And if you're pumping in 10,000 leads a month and those leads are all worth, let's say, $200 per product sold, that's, going to be a lot more value than someone who's pumping in 20 leads a month and they can only sell their product for $25. So our pricing is based on effectively how many leads times the value that that lead is worth to you. And then we take a small percentage of that. And so that's generally how we do our contracts when we're negotiating with people is we try to understand those unit economics so that we can get as close as possible to the result being what they're purchasing.
Okay, yeah, appreciate that insight on the pricing and where that value comes into play. And then with the lead qualification, I mean, in that process, not just, booking meetings, but is there any sort of scoring or actually qualificate, like you say lead qualification, but actually not just booking a meeting with anybody, but are there steps where it's just, any sort of scoring in play there?
Yeah, totally. And this is like where my time as a data scientist at Frame Data is valuable because at least in our research, which is anecdotal, right, inside of one niche in telecom, the reality that we found is half the leads won't reply ever, right? And so you could message them all you want, you could call them all you want. AI agents won't make a difference. They've lost interest or they might not even be real. There's a lot of spam filling out form fills out there and there's a lot of people who just kind of forget and change their mind. And so half of them are just going to be marked cold right away by our agent. And so it does look at what type of engagement's happening, how far into the conversation did this person get compared to the rest of the people in that cohort. And so there's a relative score. We try to make it easy. So there's cold, warm, and hot, but then we have a 0 to 100 score as well. And so we'll send both of those data points to any CRM to allow the sales team that we integrate with to tell us what do you consider to be warm? Is it the ones who are 40 out of 100 and up? Or is it 70 out of 100 and up? Or do you just want to stick with us? And so we define it really as if they didn't reply or if they said stop or unsubscribe, they're cold.
Mhm.
If they asked any question at all and replied, that's actually a pretty good signal it's a real person. And so, eh, and also it's a signal that they care enough to start asking cues. And so that'll almost immediately put them into like the lower warm spot. And if they start asking continuous questions and they're writing back quickly and they get into like pricing and objections and maybe talking about when they could meet, that's like a 75, 80 score. That's pretty warm. And then hot is, hey, this sounds good. Can we meet? Call me now. Here's my number. Here's my address. Like they start getting into like the decision making step. And so those guys will get a hot score. It's actually pretty rare, I think, for them to just book a meeting without talking to someone. So you like send them a booking link and then they book. That's only like 6, 7% of the people will do that. And those are obviously like the very hot leads. They have no questions. They know exactly what they want. But a 40% of them will require quite a bit of back and forth. And those are the ones that we're really providing value for is we're helping you figure out where to not waste your time when it comes
Okay.
to cold leads. And then the ones who are warm, why are they warm and how do we identify which ones you should call first? So there's a lot of lead scoring that goes into it. And it's mostly about analyzing the conversation, how far they got.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Appreciate that insight. Yeah. Kind of through a lot of that fluff. And so you mentioned founded the company about 2 years ago. So 2022.
Yep. In
Okay.
August.
Okay. August 2022. And then do you have a headquarters location or are you virtual?
Not really. I mean, I started Pitchit when everybody was like, we're never going back to the office. We're totally remote. And then there was this push in 2023 where every CEO wanted people to go back and it didn't really work. And so we were going to go to San Francisco for a long time. And then we found out we couldn't get any employees to move there. So we decided that this is kind of pointless. And so we just decided to be all remote. And I'm based out of Austin. So like we're all over the place. We got
Mhm.
people on East Coast. I'm in Austin. Our investors are kind of all spread out, Atlanta, San Francisco, LA.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. And then what's your current team size?
Pretty small. I mean, we're under 5 full-time
Five.
employees. We do have an offshore eng team. I'm not really sure I'd consider them full-time W-2, but they're definitely full-time contractors. But our actual core team is under 5 people. I'm not really seeing headcount that correlated to revenue potential.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily agree with some of these people who think that you could be the first solo founder billionaire. That seems like a total stretch and a complete lack of understanding of like how to onboard and sell a business to become a customer of yours. And at least in enterprise B2B sales, I'm not sure that's possible. But I do agree with them that every 10 clients does not necessarily equal two extra employees, one account manager and one AE. And we're seeing headcount very much decoupled and less correlated to revenue. So I doubt you're going to see us hiring 25 people over the next 12 months, even if our revenue starts to scale to 3, 5 million. It just doesn't feel like there would be a reason to have that many cooks in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I've seen some of those social media posts circulating of who's gonna like the first $1 billion solopreneur company. But like you said, it's little bit more involved than that. So
Right. I mean, I think you would need a total change in consumer behavior where they actually don't want humans to help them. And we're so far from that. I personally can't tell you a single customer that we have today that doesn't like the fact that they have my cell phone number and can text me whenever they want.
mm,
If I were to never have met them and just like, bought Bitcoin, but there was no face to who owned Bitcoin, it just seems like that's not going to happen. Even companies like Wikipedia and Bitcoin, they might not have like employees, but they have thousands of contributors and affiliate
mm,
marketers, and they're in some way, shape, or form getting paid out for that work. And so I'm not really sure that I buy into that vision at all, actually. I'm not sure who it would
mm.
apply to. I'm not sure if it would ever work. And if it did, it's not happening anytime soon until nobody wants to talk to each other. I think we're far from that.
Yeah, no, appreciate your insight there. And then revenue side, anything you want to share on revenue ranges, ARR ranges?
It's more about who are we willing to onboard right now
Hmm.
versus like what could this, because this could, you could probably envision a company with 10 leads at 99 a month, finding great value and pitch it. That's fine. But we're not really prioritizing that. Right now, we're focusing on low end 10,000 as an ACV. And then high end, at least the highest we've had to date was 150,000. We do have some people in the pipe that probably are closer to like 300, 500,000 range,
Hmm.
but those are lower deals, 6 to 12 month. The stuff we can close in 30 days or less fits into the 10 to 150K range. And that's probably where I would say our sweet spot is 10 to 50 for the medium size and then 50 to 150 for bigger companies.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you can close quick deals on 10 to 150K ARR or ACV, yeah, that's fantastic. So,
That's that's where it's been up to this point. And I think relatively for the record, that's pretty high ACV. And so it's not like we are unhappy with the size. It's a good size. It closes pretty fast. And so I don't know if you'll see us going much bigger than that unless it's for the occasional enterprise like Fortune 500 company. And we certainly do have one of those as a client. So it's not like we haven't done it before, but it's
mhm,
uncommon.
yeah. And then you're helping your customers with go to market. So tell us a little bit about your go to market motion. How are you finding some of these big companies? I don't know revenue ranges of these companies, but seems like larger companies. So how are you finding your prospects?
Well, I tried everything. And so I've tried advertising, I've tried cold calling, I have tried cold emailing. What, what actually has worked for us is I get on stage, I do a keynote, and then a bunch of people come up to me. Most of the time, they are influencers like yourself, and they have a really good network of people that fit our customer profile. And so they have become resellers. And so they sign a contract with us, they get a commission, and that has been amazing for us. It has been by far the best source. It's not necessarily something I could scale to the moon forever because I got to go to do a keynote and I can only do one at a time. I can only do one a week. And I can only talk to so many people after the keynote before you just run out of people that were in the crowd. So it's not necessarily a scalable solution, but we're not really at our company talking about scaling to the moon. This wasn't like a series B round, right? So for now, becoming a thought leader has been the best source of leads for us. And then the other benefit is we just have this incredible case study in telecom. And so if you stay in that niche, everybody in telecom knows that person and wants to beat them. And so we have the case study. They all want to know how we did it. They all want to therefore sign up for Pitchit. they would sign up for Pitchit just to figure out how we did it, even if they didn't value Pitchit. And so that's like the real reason why all of these books on startups talk about starting with the vertical SaaS approach.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So trying some of those traditional channels, but then keynote influencers, resellers, kind of hitting home right now. So, and then,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then switch.
Like ads haven't worked very well. SEO is pointless. No one knows that this is even a thing that exists. So they're not out searching for it. They're not like, I need an AI agent that can plug into my HubSpot and talk to my leads from cold. They're not saying that. They don't understand that this is a problem that exists. So a lot of the digital marketing solutions that are out there have not been great because they're all like pull marketing, keyword based targeting. And what has been better is influencer. Get on stage, get someone else who's on stage talking about pitch it, and the audience watching is much more plugged in and interested in talking to us at that time. So that's the one that's worked best. The rest have been kind of various degrees of failure.
Yeah. And there's one more question on go to market. So these keynotes or these presentations, are these telecom related conferences in that industry?
At first, they weren't.
Uh-huh.
They were just broad range AI. So the AI and Big Data Expo, AI4, and that was very helpful for us because we wanted to know who would find this most valuable. But we've definitely found that niche. And so now we do go to things like the all wireless expo, and those have been much better for us. I think as broad as you'll see us go in the future is going to be something like LeadsCon, where it might not be the niche, but it's definitely the business model that we plug into. But you won't see us going back to like Salesforce conference or AI and Big Data Expo because they're just too broad and it's more about like the technology, not the vertical or use case or business model.
Okay. Yep. Makes sense. And then let's switch to the fundraising side. So it looks like you raised a little bit of money. So how much capital have you
Little
raised to
bit,
date?
little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah. Well, it was super hard, but we did eventually raise and we kind of raised while deploying. Total amount that we raised was 2.5 million.
Okay. And it looks like that was maybe characterized as a seed round. So 2.5 million seed round.
Mhm.
And then, yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you know, starting the company in 2022, what led you then, was there a trigger milestone that led you to that seed round?
Well, Plug and Play gave us 200K from day zero. And that was like a pace of crawling. Not a lot of money. We could not do much for at least the first 6 to 12 months of Pitch It because we had a shoestring budget. But in that market in 2023, it was so challenging to raise with just an idea. And so we used that 200K and we stretched it as long as we could until like Q3 of 2023. And that's when we decided that we were post revenue. We now had a product. It was MVP. We were working on a cool case study and we felt like we had the raw materials to put together a rocket ship and we were just missing the fuel. And so that's when I went and raised funding in like an actual effort to do a priced round. And so we started sending out feelers, found a couple of really good people like Silicon Road Ventures as our lead investor. Gray Ventures followed on. Obviously, we went through Alchemist Accelerators, so they participated and gave us funding as well. And we had a nice little round that we ended up closing in March and then announced it last week.
Okay. So at that point, you said that you're generating some revenue, you've got that MVP out there, but just kind of going at a crawling pace and now just need a little bit more capital to accelerate the process then.
Yeah, I personally waited to raise a bunch of money until I knew that what we were going to build wasn't going to turn into a pivot that burns $1.5 million and then has a bunch of engineers that are just not a fit for the new product we're pivoting into. And so you got to like figure out how to lay them off or find new ones and reimagine yourself. It just all sounded like a huge waste of time to do it that way. So we raised only what we needed to get an MVP into market, get a couple of sales done, and we did. And then we picked the one that we thought was the best potential client and had the best beachhead. And that's what I took in my pitch deck to investors. I said, we've got this client. They're a major dealer of T-Mobile. The case study is incredible. We've added $4 million in revenue to their sales pipeline. We can prove it. We have some product problems, right? This product is not super scalable. There's bugs. It's missing features. It's not SOC 2 compliant. There were all these issues that only money can fix. And so I had to really tell them, the only thing missing from this rocket is fuel. And so we're looking for the fuel. You have it. And we want to know if you think that I'm the right pilot for this rocket. And so that's what I went shopping for. And it made it, we were extremely successful almost immediately at oversubscribing the round. But I would have been a total failure had I tried to do that in 2022 when Plug and Play gave us our check by saying, well, look, Plug and Play gave us money. Do you want to? We didn't have a very compelling story to a total stranger at that time.
So it sounds like, and you mentioned earlier that it sounds like successful raise, successful seed round, but not easy. So any lessons learned in that process that you'd like to pass on to other founders who are thinking about that seed raise?
Well, so yeah, I think the reason that I would say it wasn't easy is because it wasn't like apply to Y Combinator, get in, raise $2.5 million before you even have demo day, and you start developing and figuring out what you're going to do, but you got all the money in the bank in the world. It was not that. And I don't think most stories end like that. I think those are probably only the ones where you're like a second or third time founder, or you have proven that you know how to go build that rocket ship. So it doesn't need to be made today, right? You will just give you the money, you skip all that hardship. But most founders' stories are not like went to Stanford, got into YC, raised $3 million on day zero. Most startup founders, it's like, I went to the University of Iowa. I got into tech in 2015. I've got some success working in other people's companies. And I've been working on this idea for 12 months. I got 6 figures in revenue. It's been super hard. We're barely making ends meet, but I think you should take a bet on me. That's the route I took. And I think most founders, that's what it's going to look like. So that would be my message. That's why I say it was harder than I thought, is because when you're kind of an underdog and you have the more normal route to becoming a founder, you you get told no all the time, all the time. So figuring out when it's the right time to ask the question is really critical. Once you have all the raw materials, though, even a first time founder will have almost immediate success at fundraising.
Yeah, you appreciate that insight and the Iowa reference. I got my MBA at the University of Iowa, so interesting. Uh,
Nice. Okay.
but yeah, you do hear that from second, third time founders where they built that street cred and reputation, and then just on that they can just raise a bunch of money with just the concept and then go about their way. So
Yeah.
always interesting to see that progression of building the product MVP, pre-revenue, post-revenue, and then when that raise came in as part of that process to continue the path.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you've ever seen the grading criteria of Plug and Play or Alchemist or YC, but I certainly have. And I think you'd be shocked to see that it absolutely says, did they go to an Ivy League school? And it's not like a blank where you can say University of Iowa. It's just yes or no. Did they or did they not? Are they a first time founder? Yes or no? You don't want a yes in that one.
Hmm.
Have they had a previous exit? Yes or no? No details, right? They don't, if it's a no on all three of those, you're not looking good. And they haven't even seen your pitch deck yet. And
Yeah.
they haven't even listened to you yet. And so this is the filter that they're using. So most founders don't pass those three questions. Most are first time. Most come from a non Ivy League school. And most worked at a startup, but don't have revenue. And so if you don't get like the three bonus questions right, you really need to knock it out of the park on the next seven. And if they're even willing to take a call with you to ask the next seven.
Yeah. Yeah. No, appreciate that insight. Yeah. So love that. And, Paul, appreciate you sharing your journey so far. And at this stage of your business, do you have a favorite number or metric that you're focused on to guide the business?
Yeah. And it's not the one that I think everybody thinks it is, which is revenue and ARR. That's a byproduct in my mind. What I'm trying to do is find product market fit. And so the best measure we have for product market fit is how many leads are we qualifying on any given month on Pitchit. That's directly correlated to our revenue and the customers finding value in Pitchit. And it's also the most correlated to how we price it out and how our customers make revenue for their business models. And so if Pitchit can grow the number of leads that we qualify 10% every month, for our entire existence, we will be an extremely big company as a side effect of that. If we have fewer leads every month, we are going to have churn, and a lot of churn will kill our business. So it doesn't really matter if our revenue is doubling annually. If the number of leads we're qualifying is cut in half or flat, churn is on its way. It just hasn't happened yet, right? So I'm looking at leads qualified per month as my metric. That will definitely change once I think we're post product market fit. So like Series A, post $2 million, growing 10% month over month. Then we'll probably shift to a more acceptable revenue model where we're actually looking at ARR. But that's because we'll know that underlying revenue, the unit economics are all there. There's low churn, we have the right target, the growth rate's good, the CAC is good, the lifetime value is good. We're still working on building those metrics today. And so that's where I'm focusing on right now is the index, and that's number of leads qualified per month.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely revenue are a popular metric from founders. But like you said, the more qualified leads eventually will right build revenue and build
Yeah.
ARRs.
Yeah, because that means they're spending more money on marketing. They're integrating you into more parts of their sales operations. They're growing, right? They're making more money from it. And so they're going to therefore be willing to pay you more, introduce you to more people, get you better case studies. It also means more people are signing up, right? So there's a lot of reasons why that's probably the best metric for me to be paying attention to right now.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I love those leads. So, Paul, as we wrap up here, what's coming up next for Pitchit?
Well, we came out of stealth with that press release. And so what's coming up next is we're basically coming to a living room near you. I mean, we will be at every conference. You will see our retargeting ads all over the internet if you come to our site. And if you work in telecom and we've identified you as our ideal customer profile, by the end of this year, you will have been in a sales call with us, no doubt in my mind. And so that's the next step for us is to really, there's only about 50 to 60 major players in the space that know everybody else, is to just be their best friend by the end of December.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. I forgot about that stealth part, and I saw that in your fundraising news.
Mhm.
So, give us a little thoughts on and being in stealth and then coming out of that versus just saying day zero, hey, we're starting Pitchit and we're
Yeah.
building a product.
Yeah, so stealth is not like the Oppenheimer project where you've got this secret village and like no one's allowed in or out, and it's actually stealth. What stealth means from my point of view is you've been selling it, but only to a select few people. You don't spend any money on marketing. You don't hire salespeople. You don't burn much cash at all. You're not even intending to grow or take on more clients, but you're really looking for 1 to 5 really good customers, and then you're going to end by picking one or two that make it, that are in the vertical you like, and you'll probably fire the rest. And that's what we did. So for our stealth, it was 35 customer advisory board people all over the internet, all over the verticals that everybody operates in. And then we picked 5 that fit inside of telecom. And then we picked 2 paying customers out of those 5 that fit the right niche of telecom and had all the problems that we can solve with AI. And that's when we decided to go raise funding and come out of stealth, because now it was, we've got the 2 case studies that we need. We want to go get the next 300 people that fit this ideal customer profile. So for me, stealth was like the definition of, are you actively trying to take on more clients now and publicly putting information about your product on your website where someone could theoretically sign up? Or are you not? And it's all like network based, founder led sales. And that was stealth for us. And no one had ever heard of us, and that was fine.
hmm Okay, so really not just like, hey, we're trying to be super secretive like the Oppenheimer project, but just we're not just
Yeah.
putting it, yeah, we're not just like, hey, we're just hey, I want all users and build revenue, but being very selective in that beginning stage.
Yeah. Lots of founders will start by putting their product on Product Hunt and running a bunch of ads and doing a bunch of cold email. And they'll like open up their shop on day zero. And the problem that I have with that is that it's a lot of money to do all those things. And you're not sure who you are or who you can help. So you're going to have a lot of customers signing up and churning and writing negative reviews. And so you probably should start in stealth at the beginning, but that doesn't mean that you put on LinkedIn that you're a stealth company and you have no idea what you do, and like you make your picture blacked out and you don't tell anyone who you raised from, right? Like, no, it's more like the lean startup book where you are selling a very early proof of concept, doesn't really work well, and you're just looking for who would use it, who would pay for it, and just doing your own network, not advertising or doing sales or going to conferences, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I appreciate that definition of stealth. That makes a ton of sense. So, Paul, really appreciate you sharing your journey to and experience. And if listeners would like to learn more about Pitchit, where should we send them online?
I'd send them to pitchit.ai or to my LinkedIn profile.
Okay, perfect. So if you'd like to learn more about Paul and Pitchit, check out pitchit.ai to learn more. And
That's
again,
right.
Paul, appreciate your time and sharing your experience today.
Excellent. Thanks for having me, Ben.
Thanks.
Cheers.